there's this one woman I've been working with now for a couple of years. And when I met her as an entrepreneur, she was getting up in the morning and working until she couldn't work anymore and then going to bed. And now, it's gotten to the point where we're talking about like, what does your calendar look like? Where do you plan your fun? I want to come to the day to day. How do you, because this is another thing, we get passionate about our work. Many entrepreneurs, if you're founding a business, you're passionate about it. And hopefully, even if you work for another company, you're passionate about it. And so what happens, and what happened to me is it was easy to put in those extra hours because I did love what I was doing. However, I do love other things like my family, like going on trips and all these things. And so when it comes to the day to day, how do you, I know you were saying by design, but like specifically, how do you design your day or your week? Like, how does that look for you and your family?
Okay, so I think there's
a lot.
I'm trying to figure out how to answer that question.
Yeah, so let's go step by step.
I'm trying to fire myself from as much as possible. So the first thing that we did once the software was up and running and it was working, and then we built out systems for all of our services, was to fire me from customer service. I shouldn't be building anybody's marketing funnel. I shouldn't be producing or editing their podcast. I shouldn't be doing any of the actual manual labor, for lack of a highly skilled, white collar manual labor in our firm. And then once I got out of that, then I needed to fire myself from managing the process. So I hired a chief project manager, taught her how to run the systems, and she's running, let's say 70% of that now. And I'm hoping we had some hiccups because of COVID, but I'm hoping next year we get to the point where they're running 100% of it and I don't have to run that at all. Then that leaves the last role I've got, which is the last two roles, one which is visionary and coming up with the services we're going to offer. And building out those systems. I don't think I would ever stop doing that because it's the most fun.
Right.
The other role is being chief marketing officer. Right now, I am our chief rainmaker. I probably bring in 80% of our business. So we're building out, even though we build marketing systems for other businesses, shoemaker's kid, right? We don't build them out enough for ourselves. So I'm literally, instead of doing it myself or having my team do it, I'm saying, again, outside investor mentality, I'm going to hire another marketing firm to market our marketing firm and have them run it and have a predictable return on ad spend. Here's what it generates. That they don't have to, that an outside investor wouldn't say, oh, well, it's because you're running the system that it's working. They would bring in an outside agency anyway. So I'm going to do it before they could, in my hypothetical world, hire an outside agency, have them run it, and then literally somebody else will bring in the customers, my team will serve them, somebody else will manage them, and I won't do a darn thing.
And so that's kind of,
I'm trying to make a McDonald's out of it.
Yeah, that's the 2021 goal. So that's your next stage to move the marketing and then keep the visionary. Like I'm a lot like you, a creative side, and I don't ever think I'm going to retire, but I definitely am going to do a heck of a lot less, right? And then be able, and that's the key thing. And you can still be there, and then maybe you won't. Maybe who knows what 5 or 10 years will take you. Maybe you'll find some other visionary, and you're like, hey, I want to go away for 5 years. So you never know, but you can make that decision when you get there. So do you have any and thanks for that. So do you have any specific tactics day to day? Do you like work like crazy hours one day and then take the next day off? Or do you try to work a certain amount of hours every day? Just getting nitty gritty. Because people, when I talk to, people like yourself and myself and other business owners, I've found that getting into those details helps folks because, there's this one woman I've been working with now for a couple of years. And when I met her as an entrepreneur, she was getting up in the morning and working until she couldn't work anymore and then going to bed. And now, it's gotten to the point where we're talking about like, what does your calendar look like? Where do you plan your fun? How do you start to do that? So how do you look at your calendar in that way and start boxing when you're going to work and when you're not? Yes. Or how do you go about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're recording this during COVID. So my kids are home on remote school, and that changes every couple of weeks because we're in New York, so it's always different. So that's interesting. So I get up and do my morning routine, my personal development morning routine before anybody else is awake most of the time. Then in terms of work, yes, I will set the schedule in advance of, hey, I'm going to do X number of podcasts this week. I'm going to do X number of sales calls this week. I'm going to do 3 webinars and bring on clients. I'm going to work on our new system for the new service.
Right.
So that's all plotted out. And my goal, which I don't achieve all of the time, but pretty much 80-90% of the time, is to be done before dinner.
Yep.
And then, of course, my son mostly is the one who will interrupt. He's 13. He's mostly the one who will interrupt me during the day. Because right now we're quarantined, so I'm working from home as opposed to at the office, which
Right.
works for my wife because he will interrupt with math questions that she can't answer or doesn't want to try and figure out, and says, your father will answer that in 2 seconds. Go interrupt him and hand him your algebra. So before COVID, I was driving my son to and from. He's a top elite soccer goalie, so I was driving him to and from practices 4 or 5 days a week. My daughters are in musical theater. They took after me, so I was picking them up, running them around. So I always made time for that. That was a priority, and I made sure I was at every practice, every game, every show. So that's kind of, my schedule was defined as in, this is when I'm starting, this is when I'm ending. Whatever has to get done in that time frame, because it's not spilling over.
Hey there, I want to give you something really big. It's called Clear Path to Customers. It's the way that we get the right language to get the right client. I like to call them your wow clients, so that you can have more results, more revenue, more raving fans, and more referrals. And I want to give this to you absolutely free. And all you have to do is go to stevenapolitano.com to check it out, or you can look at the description here. We'll put the details there. As always, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom.